Take a risk. Never play safe. Stepping back into that fire, you'll find satisfaction. Fitness is a fantastic starting point for individuals that want to be successful. You will do whatever it takes to be the best. You will sacrifice your life. Repetition, dedication, and the ability to see progression builds up self-belief. It doesn't matter who you're against, you just refuse to give up. And that's where the true power lies. There is a massive issue worldwide of young kids taking performance-enhancing drugs that don't know what they're doing.
Where will you look at me?
I wouldn't mind seeing it legal. I'm here to argue the point that you should be keeping people safe. In the media limelight, we portray this perfect image, which isn't achievable natural. It's not achievable. I think there's so much pressure on individuals to be a certain way, to look a certain way, and it's so hushed up. That's my one gripe with the fitness industry. I always felt like there was something I should be doing that I wasn't doing. I just remember thinking, I should get into the film business. It was so hard because I'd never done it before. Definitely jumped out of my safety zone there. Went for the audition, got it, I was on the plane the next day with Ray Winston. And from that day, it's just literally not stopped. The last 4 years, I really have evolved. I don't ever feel like I lose because I won't give up. That's the key to success in life. Never giving up.
They say that the human race is doomed, that we have lost touch with our true nature, that the media has corrupted us, and that the planet has no future. I disagree. I believe that humanity is full of hope, and that our salvation lies within each one of us. My name is Brian Rose, and my job is to listen, the oldest method of learning known to man. Each week I seek out individuals that are changing the world, people who are living and thinking in a different way. Their stories will challenge your beliefs, make you question your choices, and perhaps inspire you to change. I never planned on doing any of this, but now I can't stop. Join me on this mission and make humanity something we can all be proud of.
Martyn Ford is a beast of a man. 6'8", 370 pounds. He towered over me, but he's also a fascinating dude. He's a business owner, a fitness influencer, a Hollywood actor, and soon to be a cage fighter with the organization KSW. I had an amazing time talking to Martyn. I found him fascinating, looking at Hollywood from an outsider's perspective, and just a guy that's always trying to transform himself and be the best version of who he is, going out there, learning about business, about influence, and about everything. So I know you're gonna enjoy my time with Martyn. He's such a big lump of a guy, very alpha, but also super cool, super honest, and super opinionated. And of course, inside London Real Academy, we are getting busy ourselves. We're teaching people how to start businesses, how to start podcasts, how to publicly speak, and how to actually transform themselves. If you want to be one of the few people that really gets in and down and dirty with me for an 8-week course, here's a bit more about what we do.
London Real doesn't stop when the conversation ends. You see, that's when we get started. Because everything begins with a thought, and then comes the action. The London Real Academy is our global transformation platform. Here we bring together thousands of students from over 75 countries. Whether you want to build a profitable business from your passion, or learn to speak to inspire, or broadcast yourself with your very own podcast, or accelerate your life to become a high-performance person, we have the online accountability course and personal mentoring program that will make your dream a reality. Join us, and we'll take your life to the next level, together. Our next accelerator course is starting soon.
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Martyn Ford, the actor, fitness influencer, and business owner. At 6 foot 8 inches tall and over 370 pounds, you are often known by your nickname, The Nightmare. This unique look has landed you roles in big movies such as Kingsman, The Golden Circle, Robin Hood, and Final Score with Pierce Brosnan and Dave Bautista. You recently signed to the MMA organization KSW and are preparing for your debut fight. Martyn, welcome to London Real.
Thank you very much.
Awesome having you here. I must say that we get a lot of people coming in here and sitting in that chair, but most of the people here have been a little giddy like schoolgirls today. And I'm wondering, do you get that reaction a lot from people that are just kind of excited to see you?
Not that I noticed. I think, do you know what? I was having this conversation the other day with a close friend of mine who's been through the whole process with me, since I started doing the acting and so on. And I used to get a lot of people look at me anyway because of the way I look. And they had no idea what I did or who I was and so on. And now it's kind of difficult to know if people look at me because of how I look or what I've been in or what I'm doing or where I'm at. And it's still very strange and fresh for me, coming up from just being a normal person into this sort of media limelight. So yeah, it's difficult to try and read people's reactions sometimes. I tend to just look at the floor.
Okay.
It's easier.
But it doesn't get old when people kind of look up to you or are excited that you're there.
No, it's awesome.
Okay.
I always remember taking a great piece of advice off a good friend of mine who, he was a fitness influencer, and he recently passed away, actually, Rich Piana. And he said to me, you've got to remember every single person that you see who comes up to you at a show, or comes up to you in the gym or on the street. He says you've got to greet them as if it's the first person you've seen that day, because they're paying your wage. That person there potentially could be worth $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 over their lifespan. They're your fan, they're following you, they're going to purchase your products. You've got to greet them like it's the first person you've ever seen. And that stuck with me. Ever since he told me, I was like, that's such a good way to think about it, because we all have off days, we all have bad days, and people come up to you and say hello, and you're like, it could change that person's opinion of you then. And you have, so it's been said so many times, you make a good impression, someone might tell 3 or 4 people. You make a bad impression, they'll tell every single person they know. And that's how I've tried to approach that situation, where if people come up to me, I genuinely do enjoy meeting people anyway, so it helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah, and for every one that comes up to you, probably 10 are thinking about it.
Yeah, and it's scared.
So, yeah, exactly, they're scared. And they're feeling your vibe and feeling your energy, and if you're having a bad day, they're gonna feel it. And also, I remember Ice-T, one of the old hip-hop, old school guys said...
I know, I was with him.
Oh, you were with him,
yeah? He did a concert in London about 4 months ago, and Ernie, one of the drummers, he plays drum and bass. I know him quite well. And I went to the concert to watch him. Okay. He's a very cool guy.
I'm a huge fan. And I remember posted a picture with a fan years ago, and he said, I make fans the old-fashioned way, one at a time. And it was just a nice old school lesson of just saying, you know what, one at a time. He remembers when he was just coming up and he had nothing, and you got to spend time.
He still does that now, because we were on his tour bus, and he finished the show, went onto the tour bus. We were there for about half an hour, and then he went back out, and he had a picture of every single fan that was outside.
Wow.
And he's 60, he's got to be 60, 65 now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think Joe Rogan does the same thing. He'll stay out till 3 a.m. and take a picture with anybody who wants after his show.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the attitude, to have.
Yeah, 100%.
Walk me back 4 years ago to Martyn's life then, and tell me what was going through your head, because this is kind of before the movies, before the Instagram following, before all these things happening. There was still stuff going on, but what were you like then? And were you kind of ready for what was going to come next?
I wouldn't say I've changed really as a person. I was extremely hungry, and I always felt like there was something I should be doing that I wasn't doing. So when I was young, I always thought I was going to be a professional cricket player, and I had that energy and that urge and that sense of failure that I never got there. So I was always trying to make up for that, if that made sense. So when I was training, I never had a goal, but I knew I had to train because there was something I should be doing. And it's such it's like a weird is a hard thing to try and explain. I just knew there was something around the corner.
Okay, but it was always physical.
Yeah, it was always physical. Like, it was never. I tried to go back to uni and do marketing and stuff like that. I just couldn't. I couldn't get the love for being in that classroom and office based. It was always something physical I had to do. So I used to do bodyguard work. I used to do personal protection. I owned a gym. I did personal training. I loved the fitness side. I was a sports coach, but it was never enough. There was always something else, and I just remember thinking, I should get into the film business. And that was it.
And that was it.
That was it, yeah.
And that dream and goal started, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
4 years ago.
Okay.
4 years ago. So the way that started was a good friend of mine's an actor, probably one of the best martial arts actors going at the moment, Scott Adkins. He's been in Expendables, what we were talking about just earlier on. He was in that. He's done a lot of his own films. And he phoned me up. I remember it clear as day. I was at the opticians and I was sat there just in a chair like this and my phone went and it was Scott and I was like, it's weird, Scott never phones me. So I've picked it up. He says, I've got an audition for you, it's for James Bond. What are you on about? He says, you know you wanted to get into films, I've got you an audition. I said, I don't want to do that. So anyway, I went down to London the next day. I got all these lines off his agent, sent me all the lines through. I couldn't remember a thing. It was so hard because I'd never done it before. And I went there, sat in this room, massive place it was in London. Probably one of the most intimidating auditions I've ever been to, and it was my first one. I remember walking in, and there was about 4 or 5 people, very similar setup to this, 4 or 5 people. Right, I'm going to read my lines, I want you to respond. I was like, all right, no problem. I couldn't remember it. I couldn't even remember the first word. And the woman just looked at me and she was like, look, I think you've got potential, the way you look and so on, but you need to learn how to act. Go back, go somewhere, go to college, go to this, learn how to act. And I think there might be potential for you to do some stuff. So I was like, all right, fine, so I'm gonna do that. So that was my first taste. And then I was so fortunate because the agent who's Scott's working under Joe actually signed me up there and then. And he got me an audition 3 weeks later. So I had 3 weeks practice, which isn't enough. And I landed the role. Wow. And I was out to South Africa within a day. Went for the audition, got it, and I was on the plane the next day with Ray Winston. So bizarre. And from that day, it's just literally not stopped. Just not stopped working. Whether it's the fitness industry, whether it's films, events or so on, it just keeps coming bigger and better each time.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, said when he started getting into acting that he was shocked that he had to get in touch with kind of a feminine side or an emotional side that he wasn't used to. I think he was used to shutting that down.
Yeah.
Has that been what you found acting like, or how do you get to somewhere, even if it's a neutral space?
Yeah, I think I learned so much on the job. And I think for me, although it wouldn't be the ideal way to get into acting, it was so useful because I was learning off like these amazing actors, absolutely phenomenal actors. I worked with Taron Egerton in Kingsman. I worked with Ray Winston. And just speaking to these guys and listening to how they get into that zone, it was so easy to understand. I think when you get professionals of that level explaining it to you in layman's terms, because they understand it properly, they can really explain it to you. I think sometimes when you half understand something, you try and make it more complicated for someone else because you don't really know what you're talking about. Yeah. But because they really understood it, they explained it, and I was like, yeah, that's so easy and so simple. And I've just, like the last 4 years, I really have evolved. I was so bad. Which anyone would be, when you first go into trying to do something, especially like acting, when you're coming from a background like mine, where it was very much like that, just shut down. I was a bodyguard. You know what I mean? I wasn't supposed to be talking to people. I'd just look horrible and try and not talk to people, really. So to try and learn how to relax and control a situation in an acting sense, and to feel comfortable, to feel confident. And also, you've got to remember when you're trying to learn lines and so on, just having the confidence to allow yourself to make mistakes and allow yourself to be vulnerable. that was the hardest part for me, to allow myself to be vulnerable and to really accept that it doesn't matter how big or how strong I am, that's not going to help me in this situation. And that was my safety point. So I definitely jumped out of my safety zone there.
It's an interesting point, because that always saves you in the past.
100%.
Right.
100%.
But on the screen, it can't.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. It's
Especially on the close-up.
Well, yeah, you're not going to see it anyway.
Right.
And that's what I really enjoy about acting. I can see myself evolving, especially doing stuff like self-tapes and auditions, because, like you said, it's a close-up. The director doesn't want to see you act from 25 foot away. He wants to see this. And then when I get roles because of this, I'm like, oh, I'm learning. I'm coming forward. And like I said, I've got 3 films literally in the pipeline now. And I'm just waiting for the start dates. So for me to have that opportunity to actually play bigger roles, bigger characters, a lot more dialogue, it shows that I'm evolving through the stages, which it's exactly what I want to do.
What'd you learn from Ray Winston? I mean, he's such an OG, but
he was just so cool. He was my first day on set. I was so nervous. We were in South Africa, and we were in Stellenbosch. Massive set. There was probably 2,000-3,000 people on set. So you can imagine as a newbie, first day rolling up to set, and I just looked, saw all these extras, and I saw the can. He was so intimidating. It was a Disney production as well, so the money was ridiculous. And I had my trailer, and I saw he had my character's name on the trailer. And I played Goliath. It was the story of David and Goliath, and Ray played King Saul. And I saw King Saul was next to me, and I was like, that's Ray Winston. I hadn't met him yet. I was like, I really wanted to meet him. And he literally hung out the trailer and, all right, big man. he had AC/DC blasting away or something. And he was just so normal and so relaxed. And he was just telling me how he came up from nowhere. He wasn't a trained actor and so on. He was telling me like how he did it. And it was just so like reassuring for me. And it was very almost like comforting in a strange sense. And I think that's why actors like that are so good, because they can give the younger guys, the new guys coming through, they can sort of just put their arm around them and you can feel like you should be there rather than feel like an outsider.
Yeah. I bet when he's on screen as well, it's probably a different level of the way he acts. Because on movies, you you can't overact, right? That's a big mistake people make.
Yeah, 100%, especially on movies that are not action, or like comedies or action. Sometimes overacting can help-ish, depending, like Will Ferrell, for instance, I wouldn't say he overacts, but he's so extrovert and extra, but it works. Whereas if you're doing dramas, which we were, it's such a fine line between acting and overacting and so on, and less is more, which is the hardest thing to understand when you have no idea what the director's talking about. Less is more, okay. What does that mean? But you sort of just get used to it, and you just absorb the energy in the atmosphere and try and get into that sort of level. And it helps when you're with really good actors, because same as us, if like the conversation we're having now, we'll keep the same tone. If you go louder, I'll go louder, and so on and so on. And when you're on set, you tend to feel the energy from the other person. So the better the actor opposite you, the better your performance, or complete opposite, and the more he makes you look like an idiot because he's so good. Yeah. But I think it's just a process.
Yeah,
really
I think
is.
with acting, you really do rely on that partner. And I've heard horror stories where a seasoned actor will kind of just like mess with a newbie on the scene.
Yeah.
And then the director will be like, "What did you do? You just ruined him."
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it can get kind of competitive, and it's a very vulnerable space.
Yeah,
right?
I know a very famous actor who made another very famous actor walk off and refuse to come back to set. Exactly for that reason.
Wow.
Changed the whole script.
Wow.
They when I heard the story, I was like, I don't want to work with him. But he, because he was directing at the same time, and he basically came on and changed all the lines. So the actress was like, what's going on? and kept filming. And he basically wanted a reaction from her, an angry reaction. So he changed it all and made her look stupid in front of everyone. And he got it. But then the problem was it was so real, she didn't come back.
Gosh. And what's the movie business really like? Like, what could you tell us of what it's really like? Or even aspiring actors, like what should they know before they go down this route? Because all we see is the finished product and the premiere in Leicester Square. You know?
Yeah. Them parts are really good. The reality of being an actor is that you're unemployed 99% of the time. It can be very lonely in a sense that you'll work in the most amazing places. I've been to so many phenomenal places to film, and I've been on my own 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. You go over and you think you're going to be with everyone. You're not, because you're not needed. You can be in a hotel room or you can be in your trailer and you just left until it's time to come and do something. So it can be very lonely, it can be very long. With that being said, it's also phenomenal. You know, that if you have to sit in a trailer for 10 hours to get 1 hour on set, that 1 hour makes up for it. You forget about the 10 hours. I'd imagine it's like childbirth, to be honest. You go through all that pain, at the end of it, you forget about the pain.
Right.
It is long days. It is hard, it is challenging, but it's also extremely rewarding. And I think every single actor would tell you that. I think every single actor will say it's nowhere near as glamorous as what you think. It's a job. You turn up to work, you go home. But it's just a really cool job. And I think that's the thing that it really stuck out for me, was that as an outsider, you think this acting career is this sort of glamorous and really just different, like crazy different. And it's not really, it's just like normal work. It really is like going to a normal job. You're just doing something slightly different and you get to experience really extreme places, whether it's sets that have been built or whether it's on location, like phenomenal places. So you get to, it's more a visual thing than anything, but it is just work.
What's your dream role? What would you like to be?
Just action, just
Yeah.
badass action. I like the whole, like your Expendables that type of film. I just like the energy of a film. I love the energy of a film. I've done quite a few of them. I've been very fortunate, the films I've done already. But I just love that sort of, the energy and the fight scenes, the cars, just that vibe. It really works for me. But also comedy. I love comedy. I did a comedy which is about to be released called Kill Ben Lick, and we shot that in France. And we were in France for 5-6 weeks shooting that. And that's a phenomenal film. Absolutely phenomenal. Low budget, and it cost just over $2 million to make, I think it was. But the outcome they've got from that's phenomenal. And it's won so many awards, and it's about to be released now, so I can't wait for that to come on set. That was probably one of my favourite films to shoot.
How do you do comedy?
Bad. No, I can, with my look, you can go one of two ways. You can go over the top trying to be bad, or you could just be completely the opposite from what you're going to expect. And I haven't had the complete opposite yet to play. I'd love to play that role, just something they wouldn't expect. I think because for me as a person, people judge you very quickly on the way you look. I'm used to that. It's no problem at all. I've done it to myself. I covered myself in tattoos, shave my head, and I got to £360. What do you expect? I'm going to get judged. But I'm a big enough individual to understand it, accept it, and filter it, and move forward. And I'd like that opportunity to put myself across in a comedic role, because I'm quite a funny person.
Quite a what person?
Funny person.
Funny person.
Yeah. Well, I think I am. Everyone else thinks I'm stupid. But I do enjoy comedy. I love watching comedy, and that would be a role that I'd enjoy playing.
Tell me about the tattoos. How long have you had them? And was this something you always wanted?
Do you know what? This is why I don't do drugs, because these tattoos, I was only supposed to get one. Now I got this sort of compulsive issue. And this was literally, honest to God, right, the truth. I had a band on my wrist, and the band was just like, no, sorry, it was here. It was a band of all my family's initials. And I had it, and I was like, oh, that looks ridiculous because my arm was so big. I was like that. I was like, we'll have to make that a bit bigger. So from the time, I think it took about 4 months to have every single tattoo I've got. So I went from none to this in 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's addictive about it?
I don't know.
Pain?
No, I hated that part. I think, you know what I think it was? I think it was the ability to change yourself as an individual. And I just wanted to change. I was just bored of being normal. And I was like, right, what can I do to really polish yourself? You know, like, for instance, your suit, you got a pink tie and you got your socks. It's just something slightly different. That's the way I felt with my body. I was like, well, I want to change it a bit. So I put some tattoos on, and then I'll shave my head, and then I'll put some muscle on, and I was happy then. Everyone else thought I was completely bonkers, but I remember having this done. And I used to train this couple, very wealthy couple, lovely woman, and I did it, and she's proper old school English. She went, "You ruined your life. You're never going to work again. You're never going to this. You're never going to that." I went, "I'll be all right. I've got my own job. I've got a gym. I've done this. I'll be fine. I'll get free." 4 years later, I'm earning more money than I ever have. Looking at exactly how she said, you're going to ruin your life. And ironically, this is what made me. Going against the grain, changing everything that society says you should be, flipped around and made me successful. Because I've no shadow of a doubt the reason I'm successful today is because I'm so different looking. If I still looked the same as I did when I was 21, I'd still be working in the gym, being a personal trainer. No doubt about that. So by having that, I suppose by having the balls to step out the comfort zone and become different, it paid off. I'm not saying that's the best way to go about it, but for me, that gamble of trying to reinvent myself, trying to make myself unique, trying to create something very different, paid off massively.
Is that what you encourage other people to do?
No. I wouldn't be different then, would I?
But you think people should be unique?
I think people should be unique. I think people should have the balls to be who they want to be. 100%. I think that, you know, I think the biggest blessing I had was that I was stupid at school. Well, that sounds really odd, yeah? I'm a massive believer that I have so many friends who are so educated and get stuck in the system. They're comfortable earning 35, 40, 50,000 a year, and then they get stuck. And they can't break out because they've got a mortgage, they've got a kid, they've got this, they've got that. I never had that. When I gambled, it wouldn't have mattered if I lost. I was earning cash as a personal trainer and so on. I was doing bits and pieces of bodyguard work. It wouldn't have changed. I gambled and it worked, you know, because I never had that comfort, that regular 35, 40, 50,000 income, right. That safety net. And I think people get stuck being safe and it scares them to gamble. Whereas I will gamble.
And you knew you were always going to win.
I was confident. Yeah, I'm always confident that I'm going to win. Normally lose, but I don't ever feel like I lose because I won't give up. Even if I lose, I'll do it again. And I've always been like that.
Where does that come from?
My granddad, he was a terrible cheat as well. He was. But I think it was just like, look, you don't ever lose, you do it again. And if you can't win, you cheat till you win. Oh, yeah, all right, that sounds good. It's a good way to go.
Schwarzenegger once used to say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
I think, just that stubbornness. I never, ever wanted to lose. Ever. Hated losing. My daughter's the same. We went to parents' evening and they said, she's brilliant. The only thing is she doesn't like to lose. I went, what do you mean? That's the best thing. So yeah, but she doesn't accept losing. I was like, good. I don't want her to accept losing. I want her to want to win. And if she doesn't win, be upset and go back and win. Because I think we live in a world where it's like, oh, it's really nice to just compete and do something. And no, what's the point? If you're not trying to be the best at it, don't do it. Do something else that you are. And that's always been my philosophy. It's like, if I'm not going to be the best at doing something, I don't want to do it because I don't want to be second best. I'd rather pass that by. That's why I start and stop a lot of things. I'll start it, I'm like, I'm not very good at that, I'm going to do something else. And I'll find something I am good at and give it 100%. Because I think that's why I always trained, because I knew there was something I could do. I just wasn't sure what it was. And I think having that, I was very lucky as well because the fitness industry spiked at the right time for me. I really caught the wave.
20 years earlier, you wouldn't.
It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
10 years in the future, I don't think it would work. It just was perfect at the right time. And I was very fortunate. But I think a lot of successful people are fortunate. You've just got to be that. You've got to be in the right place at the right time and have the right mentality not to give in. And just keep going and keep going and keep going.
And you feed off negative energy.
Yeah, I love it.
Talk about that.
Oh, I love it. I don't know why, I'm just weird. If people put me down or people try and, it just gives me so much more motivation to, I love it when people tell me I can't or I won't or I'm this or I'm that.
Which happens a lot.
Not so much now, which is frustrating.
You want it back.
Yeah. I love it when people doubt me or put me down or are negative towards me, because it reminds me that, you know what, you're a very vulnerable person, you're on your own, you've got to fight. You've got to fight, otherwise you fall. And it's as simple as that. I just want to keep going up and up and up. And it's nothing about money at all, it's just energy. The feel, I can't even explain the sort of, the energy that goes through me when I'm successful at something and I feel like I'm winning. It's just the most amazing feeling in the world. And it's like a drug, I suppose. And I think that's what the negative energy allows me to, when I'm successful, when someone's been negative, it allows me to win. So if you put me down and I prove you wrong, I've won. And it's just that feeling of satisfaction. I love it. And I think that's why I'll always respond to people. Like, why don't you just ignore them? I'm like, I like winding them up.
So we need some more hate for you.
Yeah. Just send it my way. Okay. I'm happy. But it's like it's all good fun. And I think everyone has different energy systems, and I do bounce. I bounce really well off good people. So my close circle, every single person in my close circle is very successful at what they do. One of my best friends is Eddie Hall, strongman. We get on so well and we have so much in common. And when I'm around him, I feel like I'm really drive harder and want more and so on. I have a lot of friends like that. I have actors like that. I have a real good friend, Martyn, who's best mates with Jason, who's just an Aquaman. We spend quite a lot of time together. When I'm speaking to Martyn and so on, it's just, you get the right energy off people and it allows you to use their energy and push forwards. So I tend to use negative energy and positive energy.
Have you always selected an inner circle group of people with positive energy, or
yeah.
Is that something you had to learn?
I think it just happened naturally. I'm very cold as an individual. I'll cut people off like that. If I don't feel it, I'll just gone. So I think because of the way the sport I do as well, bodybuilding, it's a very individual, selfish sport. You don't need anyone. So it allows you to pick and choose very carefully who you want. And I think that sort of evolved in life as well. So I used to do bodyguard work, I used to do personal training, and that was all individuals. So you can pick and choose. And I think just over the years, I sort of realized that you are who you associate yourself with. If you're with good people, you become a good person. If you're with bad people, you become a bad person. And there was definitely a line, I'd say around about 5-6 years ago, where I could have gone one or two ways. I was in a bodybuilding gym, training with, what's a nice word for them? Criminals. It's bodybuilding gym, that's what it is. MMA gyms, bodybuilding gyms, you get the mixture, but you definitely get the grassroots individuals. And I was good friends with lots. And our common link was the training. And there was definitely a stage where you could easily get talking to the wrong direction with the environment that I was in. So I do think selection of friends is very important, especially when you're going through periods of your life when you're vulnerable and you can be influenced very easily, especially in today's society. You know, money's hard to find and life's difficult and everyone wants the next new car, the next big house, the next this, the next that. And it's not always easy to get. So it's trying to find that moral compass and direction.
Did you cut those guys off or choose to move to other circles consciously?
I kept at arm's length.
Okay.
So I'll still be friends with them, but I wouldn't. There'd be certain places I'd go, certain places I wouldn't. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm so busy in my own circle now, and my two girls are my immediate, and that's where I spend literally my life now is gym, work, children,
Right.
and that's it. And they keep me busy. Probably saved me. 6 years ago, I had my first daughter, so that was probably my reason to really focus on trying to make myself something that, one, I could provide for, and two, she'd be proud of.
Yeah, it's funny how kids save you like that.
Yeah. Well, she send you the other way. My one's nuts.
You mentioned your grandfather earlier. He was a big influence on your life.
He was actually, yeah.
It was hard when you lost him, right? I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, he was. He was probably more so than he realised, to be honest, because we were very old-fashioned. He was very, very quiet. But he used to do he used to take me, my grandfather and my grandma used to take me to cricket training 3-4 times a week. They'd pick me up from school, they'd do this, that. Fantastic grandparents. Probably not like, they wouldn't show how much they loved you, but by how much they did, you got it. And then I think it was only when I lost him that I sort of realised how much he did for us. And then in the space of like 6-12 months, I lost my granddad. Basically, my cricket career ended, and then there was like a relationship that ended as well. And it just hit me. I was young. I was like only 19, 20. Everything sort of like just piled at once. And then from that, what then happened was I basically got like eating disorder, which for a 19, 20-year-old kid to get an eating disorder who's always been into fitness and sports was just weird. I just didn't know what it was. Very strange. And still to this day, I don't really know what I had. I couldn't eat. I wanted to train. And putting them two together was a really bad mix. Obviously, being as big as I was, training probably 4 or 5 hours a day to try and escape the issues that I had, whether it was up here or I just couldn't deal with what was going on at the time. So I went from a very healthy weight down to a really unhealthy weight. I was probably like 1-2% body fat, which was not good. I remember going to the shops with my mum and collapsing outside the shop and pretty much going straight to the doctors and then sending me to a shrink. And I was probably a week away from being admitted into hospital. So it was bad, and that definitely stemmed from just not being able to deal with a few situations when I was younger.
Did you learn something from that?
Yeah, I did. I learned that I was a lot tougher than I realised. I was always quite soft as a kid, in the sense that I was looked after. I had a great upbringing. My parents were great, my grandparents were great, and so on. And I was never left on my own to fend for myself, so I didn't really understand how to do it. And then I think as you hit like late teens, and you start, right, you're turning into a man, and you haven't really got them tools to deal with situations. I think going through that, sort of like, well, if I can get through this, I can get through anything. Because that was such a dark 6 months of my life. I just used to sit on the sofa and couldn't move, couldn't eat, just had no energy at all, just wanted to die. As crazy as it sounds, at like 18, 19. Bearing in mind, 6 months before, I had everything. And then I just lost it, boom, just gone. And I think because I put so much energy into the fitness, into cricket and the way my life was, to lose it all, it felt like I'd put all my eggs into one basket, and then all of a sudden that basket had disappeared, and I was lost. I was a normal person again. And I was a very good cricket player. I had great respect when I was 14, 15, 16 for that, and I loved it. I felt great, as a 15-year-old to be told you're fantastic, you're going to be playing for England, you're going to do this, you can do that, you're the best at school, you're the best here, and you're proud, you walk around, you feel great. And all of a sudden you're not going to play again. You go to the seconds, go and do this, go and do that. And you're like, well, I loved the feeling of being successful, but I'm not successful at anything now. I didn't do anything at school really when I was younger because I was always focused on cricket and so on. So it made me really understand the importance of having various goals and the importance of staying on track and just being, I don't know, I suppose, how to handle pressures in life. And you can't always win. That was the hardest thing. Trying to find light at the end of a very dark tunnel. It was difficult, and I'm stubborn, so I won't listen to people. So I had to find that myself.
And that made you who you are today.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, I won't give up now. No, I know there's always an answer. No matter how dark that place may be, there's always a way out. Just got to keep going. And I think that definitely taught me a lot from a young age. And the just that, don't allow yourself a switch off button. I think athletes, anyone that does sports at a good level has that. They have that ability to not quit. And that's the key to success in life. Never giving up, in my opinion. Never giving up. No matter what it is you do, if you give up, you're never going to be successful. I don't think you're ever successful at your first try. I'm sure there's stuff you've done where you failed, and you just keep coming back, and all of a sudden, boom, it's worked. Anything in life. I think you've got to accept that you're going to have tough times, and it's never going to be simple. And having that inner ability to zone into that spot, into that place, is I think it's crucial.
How'd you get into bodybuilding?
I needed an escapism. I really needed an escapism. I needed to find myself again. I needed to create something. I needed to feel good at something as well. I knew I could drill, as in, right, you're going to go and do 20 reps. You're going to do this, you can do that, you can do that. I can do that. I can do that all day long. I'd have been awesome in the army. You give me direction, I'll follow it. I would have been fantastic at that. And when I really sort of looked into bodybuilding and understood it, it was like, right, I can do this, I can change myself, and I can create something that I can feel proud of again. And that's why I got into bodybuilding. I just wanted to feel good. Not so much look. I felt crap because I was skinny. So obviously putting a bit of muscle on was good, but I wanted to be successful at something again. And it was a sport for me that I could do on my own. I didn't have to rely on other people. I don't like relying on other people. From experience, you get let down. So to have the ability to do it on your own was what really attracted me to the sport.
And you were introduced to Dorian Yates young.
Yeah, my mom used to run the systems for one of his old supplement companies. And she managed to introduce me to him. I went round to his house and spoke to him for probably an hour when I was 19, 20. And then he was great. He was really good. He spent time chatting to me, explained, this is the basics, this is the basics, that, go away, do that, crack on. And just having that time alone with someone like that really inspired me early on. And I don't even know if he remembers me going around to his house, because we're friends now, and I was in India with him, and I've never really mentioned it. And this is going back 12, 13, maybe 14 years when I first met him. So he probably hasn't got a clue. But he was definitely a big inspiration to me. Just his energy more than anything. He wasn't, from what I remember, he wasn't massively big then. He was towards the end of his career and so on. So it was just more his energy and who he was and knowing his name and so on, and him spending time talking to me. That definitely gave me an extra kick at the backside.
Yeah, just being around that energy sometimes can be a big thing, especially when you're a young man.
Yeah.
And, just being around people that are great, greatness, being around Ray Winston or Dorian Yates, it's like, you can carry you far.
I think what it does, it allows you to believe that you can do the same because they're so normal. I think you create an image of individuals from what you see or what you hear or what you read. And then when you meet them and you realize, you know what, you're just exactly the same as me. I can do that. And it gives you more self-belief that you can actually get there. And I think that's why the individuals like that are so important, because they inspire people and they don't even realize it just by being normal.
Yeah. And Dorian has an incredible story. I mean, this kid in Birmingham going head to head against the guys in Muscle Beach in America and just beating them 6 years in a row, and just his determination. I mean, the more I learn about Dorian, the more I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think it's that sort of inner city grit that you just don't, it doesn't matter who you're against, you just refuse to give up. And I think that's where the true power lies, that ability to switch off and zone in. Having that ability is also a curse, because sometimes you can switch off and forget other aspects. You can be very selfish and directional. But it's trying to find that balance that's the hard part.
Is that something you have to balance?
Not so much at the moment.
Helps with the family, right?
Yeah, my kids really allow me to I miss my kids like crazy when I'm away. So I think that allows me to have that balance. I could be away every single week if I wanted to. I've turned down trips so far to like Bali, Thailand, India. The last 3 weeks I should be away because it's not necessary for me at the moment. Whereas the only reason I stay is because of them. So it's trying to find that balance between being selfish and giving them enough time, which keeps me centered a bit more.
Why not become a professional bodybuilder? Why not become Mr. Olympia?
Oh man, I haven't got the genetics. I was having this conversation in India. I mean, I could be big. I could be a lot bigger than this if I wanted to. I love the idea of the lifestyle. I love that craziness about it. I love the consistent focus and the consistent need to tick boxes. I like that. I like having to satisfy points and feeling like I've been successful. But to be that level of a bodybuilder, you've got to have the right genetics. I don't care what anyone says, you've got to have the right genetic makeup. And any bodybuilder would tell you, you can look good. Like anyone could look good, but to look phenomenal, you've got to have that in you.
And it's not just being big.
Oh, it's balance, it's muscle bellies, it's about, there's so many different aspects to it. It's great. I love the sport. I'd never try and be good at it though.
You tried like a 5-week period where you...
Yeah, I did. I did like a 5-6 week diet. Oh, fucking that was plenty. It was so hard. I think for me, do you know what it is? I love the gym and I love feeling good in the gym. I'll work hard. The problem is when you start reducing the calories, you're actually going backwards. And for me, it was like, I'm I'm not enjoying this. I feel like I'm getting smaller and weaker. And the whole point of the gym for me is to become bigger and stronger. And it was a real mental battle. But I looked all right when I dieted, but I still was nowhere near that level. Nowhere near. You'd have to train 3-4 years probably. And I'm not prepared to put my body under the risk. Simple as that. Like there's protocols that they have to go through to get to that level. Everyone understands it. And I'm just not prepared to go that far. To go and be second. Because I wouldn't win. So if I could win, I probably would. If I was 21, 22 again, and I had the opportunity to do it and had the right genetics, I'd probably go for it. But I'm a lot wiser and older now, and I understand I'm not going to benefit from it. It would probably be a backward step, to be honest, for me now, to try and do that. I definitely wouldn't win.
Yeah, we had Flex Wheeler on here, and if you look at his old stuff, it's just like the genetics on him were just
phenomenal,
crazy. And he's like, I'm like, you work so hard, and he's like, I actually didn't, Brian. He's like, everybody knew I could have worked harder and probably could have won it. And you look at, just look at some of those old videos. It just blows your mind.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
What's doing
genetics. Yeah. Genetics are a wonderful thing. And it's like guys who are surgeons, lawyers. They're born clever. Okay, they go through the process, but they have the ability to absorb and to implement. Not everyone does. Same as bodybuilding. Same as any sport. The reason these people are so good and so successful is because their body's designed for it. It's the way the body's made. And do you know what I mean? They've got that massive advantage. They've still got to have the heart and the determination, the focus. But like you said, Flex didn't train that hard and still look phenomenal. You could train your ass off 20 hours a day and not look anywhere near as good as him because you haven't got the right genetics.
Yeah.
So it's one of them. You've got to have that special ability to start with.
And what about strongmen? I mean, you train with Eddie.
Yeah.
What do you see when you see Eddie and you see that he has another set of characteristics that make him the best at what he does?
Yeah, he does. He has like this, almost like an animal instinct. He'll go through this like meditation breathing, which I just find really boring. I don't even know if he knows he does it. He'll sit there before a set and like, come on, I'm trying to G him up, and he's just like, what are you doing? And he'll completely zone out.
Interesting.
Yeah, he gets himself into a real deep mind space. I remember it when he did the deadlift and he broke the world record, and he was talking about how he went into such a horrible place in his head to get there. And I'm like, yeah, I can imagine you did, because he's another guy who he's got so much up here that probably doesn't come out. He's very intelligent guy. He's just nuts at the same time. I love him to bits. I think he's brilliant. But I think when you're the best of the best, you have to have something slightly different about you. He's definitely got that. He can get into a place which not many people can get into. And to have that, I remember him telling me once that he was down in his calories, so he ate a tub of lard to pop his calories. I'm like, how can you even do that? It's just crazy stuff like that, where he'll be on like 10,000 calories a day and doing, having the ability to stick to that 8 to 10,000, 12,000 calories. That's a lot of food, and to be doing that consistently and putting your body under that consistent strain and so on. It's that's why he is who he is, because he's pushed himself to that level and he's took them risks he's put his body under so much pressure, but his reward is his world's best. And now he's stepped back because he understands what we were talking about earlier. You can only push your body for so long, so hard, and to be the best of the best is it's a crazy achievement.
Do you think it takes some darkness to be the best of the best?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Eddie speaks openly about his mental health and how he suffered with things and so on. And I think a lot of people who can find that dark place can find the energy that no one else can. I was saying to you earlier that when I'm successful, I struggle to push myself. Then when I start failing, I find the energy like that. And I can snap like that. Whereas when I'm happy, I can't snap. I need to snap. I need to be that horrible bastard to go hard. And I think a lot of people could relate to that. The need to, it's almost like borderline. Like I know I had mental health issues when I was younger with the eating disorders and so on, and I haven't never slipped back into it, but I do know I could quite easily slip into something like that if I wasn't careful. And I don't know if that's because you always put so much pressure on yourself or whatever it is, but I think there's always something slightly unbalanced about successful sports people probably. Look at a lot of them, Gascoigne. There's so many of the top guys have had issues, and it's only when you really go deep into it and you understand the psychology behind it all, it makes sense. And it's sad really, but it's also what makes them great.
Yeah, it's about finding some way to transition. That's like the hardest part, isn't it?
Yeah. The transition part from having that energy when you're phenomenal to be normal again. You've got to try and have something to put that energy into.
It's interesting. Tyson Fury's been talking lately about his mental health issues, and it's just again incredible to see like this transformation. And when his mind's not right, he goes just to a dark place where he wants to drive his Lamborghini into a wall.
Yeah.
And then when he's on point, he can be one of the greatest heavyweight boxers in the world. And it's just tapping into that in the right way that can make or break it.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, you just look at the physical difference between him. He's two completely different people. And I follow him on social. I think he's fascinating. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's great. I think he's done so well the last 12, 18 months because he was hated. He was absolutely hated because people didn't understand.
Yeah.
People didn't understand him. They just thought he was arrogant. And it was, now you look back, it was clearly a mask he was wearing when he was cocky and arrogant and so on. Yeah. And I think the last 12 to 18 months, I think he has come out so well from what he's done, not only in the ring, but as an individual and as an ambassador for mental health. Like he's turned it on its head and he's made it something that people can speak about openly and not to be ashamed of. He's done phenomenal.
So powerful. We need these conversations for men, especially for alpha men. Like these, it's nice to hear from you guys when you're talking about this.
Yeah, I think we're probably the worst ones for it because we put ourselves under so much pressure. And it's like a car. You can only rev that car 7,000, 8,000 revs before it pops. And we pressure, and especially in today's society, everyone's expected to be this, that, look a certain way, be a certain way, have a certain car, have a certain lifestyle. And as an alpha man, if you can't provide that, you start questioning yourself, well, what's the point? What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Or how can I change? And I think that's the hardest part, is really trying to apply that energy positively and to keep yourself going upwards rather than falling.
There's a writer named Jeff Thompson. He's from Coventry. He's wrote some BAFTA-winning movies. I think actually Ray Winstone was in one of them. And he used to be a doorman. And he just said, a lot of those tough guys it's all fear underneath.
Yeah.
And people don't realize it, because they have to project that strength, but they're dealing with all sorts of things underneath.
100%. I know a good friend of mine who was still is a phenomenal fighter. And he had a breakdown for the last 2 years. And I had him around my house and we're talking UK's best heavyweight fighter, animal, absolute animal. He was crying on the couch, talking to him, what's wrong with you? Oh, I can't this, I can't that, family this, family that. And he was just like a little kid. He was like a 5-year-old. The dangerous part of that is when he snaps. He snaps. But it's that vulnerability of these people. Do you know what I mean? Like I think they deal. The hardest part is to try and allow them to deal with their problems here rather than here.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, Mike Tyson, best fighter in the world, completely nuts. Now he seems like he's a lot more stabilised, but it's that upbringing that made him who he was. It's that natural rawness that made him phenomenal. And it's his output. It's that output. It's how you use, I suppose, like we were talking about, Nick, the energy sources. It's how you can implement your energy source and allow it to benefit you.
Yeah, the problem is when we see these tough guys and these big, strong guys, they're never even given the chance to be emotional and vulnerable. So it's like they can never really let their guard down because everyone just assumes that they're the tough guy. And so they probably bottle it up more than everyone else.
Yeah, I definitely, 100% bottle it all up. And that's when they'll either escape with drugs, drink, or just lose the plot completely and just go off the barrel. I think the difference between seeing a tough guy and seeing someone who's in control of their emotions is two completely different people. He automatically just presumes because he's big and strong or he can fight that he's in control of his emotions. It's two completely opposite. You know what I mean? It's irrelevant how strong or how big he is to how well he holds his emotions. And the reality is the smaller guy probably controls his emotions a lot better because he's in control of his levels. Do you know what I mean? Like he's guys who are massively into fighting or weight training or so on, their testosterone levels are through the roof, they're aggressive, this, that. To go from being like this animal to normal again, to control your emotions is like a seesaw. Whereas if you're just normally quite, you know, and it's what then determines alpha. Is it the physical or is it the mental? Because if it's the mental, then 90% of your physical alphas probably aren't really alpha.
Yeah, I think it is the mental.
Yeah.
If you look at the leaders, they're the ones that can lead.
100%.
And form coalitions and keep everything under control.
Yeah, the clever ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it spins it on its head, really. Yeah.
You mentioned Rich Piana earlier. I was wondering if you could tell me about your relationship with him. I know you know, I saw a video from you 4 years ago. You guys were hanging out, lifting together. You did some business together, and obviously we lost him. And I was wondering if you could just tell me how you feel about all that. What was he like?
Rich was probably one of the most misunderstood individuals I've ever come across. He was so like warm and welcoming and generous. And I think a lot of people thought that a lot of what he did was for social media, so they didn't really believe in what he did for other people. I've never come across a man more genuine than Rich. And that was, he's helped me a lot. He's helped me a hell of a lot and still does to this day, to be honest. I mean, he was a very influential individual, whether he's influential for all the right reasons, people would argue. He was very outspoken. He was the first really to come out and almost open the door and the floodgates on the industry and just how much drugs used in it and so on. And he really he made a lot of enemies by doing that.
Because he was really open about testosterone 100%. And growth hormone.
Yeah,
and all of that.
every single drug on the market, he came out and explained it. And he was the first really to come out and say, I don't care what you think about me. This is the truth. This is what's going on. And that's what it is. You know, this is what it is. This is the industry. He could have damaged it massively. I think he helped it. He opened up the light and made it a lot more true to people that didn't really understand it. And I think, you know, to this day, I'm older now. I'm past that stage where I'm gullible to it all. But I think there still needs to be more. I think there is a massive issue worldwide of young kids taking drugs, performance-enhancing drugs, that don't know what they're doing, and they're destroying themselves. Now, what really annoys me is that as influencers and so on, we put across how we look, put across this, put across that. It should be down to someone of a higher level that can really advise these kids properly, because they're going to do it regardless. You know what kids are like. You know, there's, whether it's drinking, smoking, drugs, whatever it is, they're going to do it. But the problem is, it's so hushed up. We portray, in the media limelight, we portray this perfect image, which isn't achievable, natural. It's not achievable. And the same people that are pushing that image out are the same people that are saying, oh, well, they don't use drugs, they don't use this. They just use protein and creatine and so on. And it's so dangerous on the youngsters that follow the sport, because they're getting advice from people who don't really know what they're doing. It's just tarnishing the sport in my eyes. And I'm not one to speak and give advice on, I don't have a clue. I'm talking about proper doctors and so on. If you're going to push to look a certain way as a sport, then you've got to accept that there's, whether it's illegal or not legal, that there's guidelines that should be in place for these kids. Because I know so many kids who are destroying themselves using way too much gear or crazy mixes, not sure how to do PCT, because you're going to want, as an individual, you're always going to want to be the best. And if you know to be the best, you've got to go down that route. You're going to take risks. And as a society, even with models, that's changed the last 10 years. The cover model, she's gone from being anorexic to a normal looking girl. Exactly the same with the fitness industry. I think you either need to really push the normal, healthy looking person, or open the floodgates and really push the proper advice out there for the kids to keep them safe. Because there's too much pressure on young kids at the moment to look a certain way.
It's a mixed message. They show these bodies, but they don't say that.
They don't explain it properly.
Right, and most of those bodies are built on some type of steroid.
I really struggle to believe now that there's not many sports people out there that aren't using performance-enhancing drugs. I genuinely do. When you look at the physiques, you look at the records, and there's only so much evolution food can give. All right, and I'm not here to argue the point of whether drugs are right or wrong. Well, it's not down to me at all. I'm here to argue the point that you should be keeping people safe, and that's my one gripe with the fitness industry, is that I think there's so much pressure on individuals to be a certain way, to look a certain way, and it's so hushed up. It really is hushed up. Even in sports, I don't believe 60% of the athletes are clean, whether it's blood doping or a form of steroids. You only have to look at the fighters. Look at the way the bodies have changed. You know, in the UFC, I won't say any names because they'll get all funny with me, but you only have to put the pictures of them 5 years ago to now. Now the UFC have brought the drug testing, they're completely different physiques, but they were natural before. Of course you were.
Do you think that testing is effective in the UFC? Or do you still think if you have the right doctor, you can get around it?
I don't know. I think it probably is effective, because a lot of them are getting caught. But then, is it effective to the right people? Possibly.
And what about other sports? Football?
Same.
And everything?
Yeah.
Cricket and...
This is my biggest issue, right? As a sports person, you will do whatever it takes to be the best. You will sacrifice your life. You've come second. Okay. Take that tablet, you'll be first. Oh, no. I'm not going to do that. They will do anything to be the best. And they get caught eventually, as as science evolves more, people are getting caught from 5-10 years ago, and getting stuff taken off them. You look at the greats. Linford Christie, he was shredded. Genetics to a part, But when you look back, you think, oh yeah, even some of the boxers, they're coming in 18, 19 stone. I did MMA training. I know how hard that is. And I dropped weight like that. I'm like, how can you hold that size? Some couple with the genetics. Could be amazing nutritionists, but I hold my doubt.
Do you think we should allow it in sports? Somebody told me that 50 years from now, there's going to be an MMA ring, and the whole crowd are going to be juiced up, and the only two guys are going to be the ones in the ring.
In the ring.
You know?
Yeah, I think if they can make it safe, and I personally, I wouldn't mind seeing it legal, because I think it would make it safer. I think with it being illegal, it creates a black market. And I think with the black market, I think you create a lot of issues for individuals. I don't think they'll make it legal. I don't think they'll make performance-enhancing drugs legal. But I think they'll probably end up in 15, 20 years making supplements which are as good as performance-enhancing drugs. I think I really struggle to understand the difference between some supplements and some steroids, and the difference in different countries. Like, you can use it there, we can't use it here, and so on and so on. I understand the reasons and why, but the actual science backing it, I think if they can make them safer, I don't see any difference between a steroid and a supplement if it's safe. That's the biggest issue in my eyes. I still don't believe a lot of the sports people are natural. Genuinely don't. And you can slate me for that. People will watch and go, oh, of course they are. Well, all right. But my opinion is they're not. Because...
And you would know. You've been in the industry.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't... I know MMA guys and boxers who currently do and have and so on, but I wouldn't know. This is my opinion. My opinion as a sports person. You will do whatever it takes to be the best. And that's, if you have a doctor come up to you going, look, I made this test. I also know how to beat this test. There you are. All right, sound. And that's what's happening. That's the reality. Look at athletics. They've kicked out nearly every single... The amount of people that have been caught in athletics for drug use. And it's like, well, if they're doing it, that's just one sport. How many other sports are doing it? How much money is involved in football? How much money is involved in basketball, baseball? And you're telling me that the morals of an individual is going to allow him not to do that when there's £100 million at risk? That's my opinion.
When's the football scandal going to break? I'm still waiting. You know? It's never been talked about.
It's never been spoke about.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different types of performance-enhancing drugs, obviously, but I don't think there's... If you can use a drug that gives you 15 years more longevity, would you use it? Of course they would. Everyone wants to be great for longer. And I think that's the reality of it. I just think in the world we live in, everything's hushed up too much, and it makes it dangerous for individuals. And I'm not saying that there's not natural athletes out there. Of course there is. Of course there is. But I think there's a lot of people that aren't, who create this holier-than-thou image. But that's just life.
What's your personal relationship with steroids?
I'm in a position where I can't talk about it, which is annoying. Like, obviously in the past I have, but it's one of them where I think there should be proper individuals out there that, like doctors and so on, that help with the kids. Because us influencers, there's so much pressure on us. It's like me saying to you, have you ever had a drink? Have you ever smoked? Have you ever had weed? Have you ever done cocaine? I've never ever touched a recreational drug in my life. Right? Never. How many lawyers, bankers, do you know that have done cocaine?
All of them?
Yep. And when you ask them that question, it's like, no, I've touched it. Everyone has this, oh, I wouldn't do that. It's not, and it's such a hard place for individuals to be. I'd never promote it. I'd never advise. I'd never tell someone what to do, how to do, when to do. I don't know. You know what I mean? This is the problem. Kids don't know. They're pressured. You're in a situation where you feel you have to look a certain way or be a certain way, and you're under a lot of pressure. As I've grown up, I've learned not to feel that pressure, not to feel influenced by how I should or shouldn't look. But it's hard when you're 22, 23 in an environment, especially a bodybuilding environment. You know, it's like, I see so many bodybuilders that, you ever used steroids? No, never touched them. Fuck off. You know, you can see it. It's not hard, but they can't say yes.
Because as an individual, they can't for their brand. So we need just overall education. Even 100%. The industry needs to come out and say,
yeah, like for me, like, it's so hard for me as an individual. Like, I want to be a good role model. I want to be a great dad. I want to be a great actor. For me to come out and say, yeah, I did that when I was younger. Oof. So, you've probably shoved a load of child up your nose. I've never touched it. What's the difference? But I'll never admit it. It's harder for bodybuilders because you can see it. You know what I mean? It's one of them. And I know I'd rather be honest and just be as successful as I can be because I've been honest than just be another one of these idiots that lies and then puts individuals at risk that are younger than me that look up to me. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair as a influencer, as an ambassador. I'd never promote it, but of course it goes on.
Do you think Rich Piana died because of steroids?
I don't know. I don't think it helped.
Okay.
I don't. It's the autopsy was never confirmed properly. I don't think it's rocket science when you saw him and know him as well as I did, that it wouldn't have helped him. Whether that was what killed him, it's not been confirmed, but it's not been denied. I just don't think it helped at all. But Rich never used steroids, in my opinion. Not safe, but he went to extremes, and he'll say that. He went to extremes, and I think when you go to extremes, if you go to extremes, pardon me, with steroid use, with drug use, with drinks, whatever, food, you're putting yourself in a risk. So I definitely think it probably was something that may have been associated to his passing. Whether it was why, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
No.
Why get in the cage? You got...
Do you know what? I nearly died last year. And I remember sitting there on the bed and I lost maybe 6-7 stone in about 3 or 4 weeks. I had a blockage in my stomach. So I had an operation when I was a baby and I had scar tissue that had broken away. It caused the blockage. I didn't know what it was. I had this horrendous pain. I didn't eat for about 2 weeks. They told me it was food poisoning in America. I came back to England and they were like, no, that's not food poisoning. You've got a blockage. You need to operate. So they operated on me. I had to sign a form. They gave me like 12% chance of dying. So I thought, man, that's a big fucking percentage.
Yeah.
12%. You know, you sit there and you know, you got your little kid there and you're like 12%. So that's like, well, that's 1 in every 10 people. Well, that's not a great shout. I remember sitting there and went in for the operation, came out successful. I was lying on the bed and I went for a real bad stage again then. Like I was looking great up until that point. I felt great. And then within 4 or 5 weeks, I lost all this weight and I literally went back to being that 21-year-old ill kid. I looked terrible. I felt terrible. I sort of fell out of love with the fitness industry because I was like, I could feel that good. And then like that, it's taken away from me and I've not learned anything. It was really weird. It was like, I haven't got a skill from this. I'm just big. So I want to do something and learn a skill and implement something and feel like I've learnt. And then the opportunity came about to do the MMA. I remember just thinking, yeah, that could be something I could really enjoy, and it's another challenge. I've done bits and pieces over the years. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for different types of martial arts, and when I got offered the opportunity, it was like, well, I never want to shy from it. I don't think it's in me to say no. I always like, yeah, all right, let's try. Whether it's a good idea or not, that's to remain seen. But I don't think it's going to be. I'm always going to be that freak fight. They just want to say, "Oh, can he go? What's it like?" And I think if I can win it in 90 seconds, I'll be great. If it goes more than the 2 rounds, I'll be on my ass.
Hard with cardio, right? With that much muscle.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was dieting and I was training so hard for this. I was doing like 2-3 hours a day fitness. I get a phone call off my agent. I was like, I've got this great film role. How are you looking at the moment? I was like, yeah, I'm looking lean. It's like, oh, they want you really big. Oh, great. So my first love always has been film. So I had to prioritize that. And now it's really weird because I feel like I'm not as fast with the striking, but my grappling and my wrestling has come on so much being bigger. And I feel more like I want to fight. Whereas before, I just felt like I was doing CrossFit. I just felt fit, but I didn't feel hard. Really, really strange. Whereas now I go in and I feel confident because I'm powerful again. Right. And I know power doesn't mean you're a good fighter. I'm not naive to that, but I think mental state is something huge. And I feel like I want to fight. Whereas before, I just felt like I was trying to fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I feel a lot more domineering now and a lot more alpha, I suppose you'd say. Okay. And I think you need that mindset to be in the right place to be able to do something like that. Whereas if I'd have kept small, I'd have gone into the cage and I'd have been fit enough to fight, but I wouldn't have had that nastiness to fight. Whereas now I'm going to probably struggle with the fitness, but my mindset will be there. So it's going to have to be a quick fight, I'm afraid.
Do we have an opponent? There's some rumors out there.
They've rumoured a couple of people, like there's this Iranian dude. I wouldn't mind fighting him, to be honest. I'd beat him on fitness.
Yeah.
He looks like a big lump, but I don't know. I mean, they have a good wrestling background, don't they? I don't know if he does. I can't figure him out. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but from pictures and videos, he looks oddly shaped to me. I don't know whether he's strong or he's just enhanced with oils. He's got this weird shape. But I'm not one to, I don't want to sit here and be a bitch and criticise and so on. He could just have an odd shape. I've got an odd shape. It's just one of them things. But yeah, it definitely sort of still, I think I just want to, I've got a free fight contract. I'd be happy just to step in there once and taste it. And it's an experience. I lose, I win, I win. I just want to experience it.
How do you win?
Pardon?
How do you win? KO, head kick, wrestle, ground and pound?
I think it depends who you fight like. I mean, the reality is it's going to be grounding. It's going to go to the floor. I'd love to stand there and just knock him out, but the striking side for me is not my strength at all. The wrestling and the groundwork, I'm good at.
How's your jiu-jitsu?
Good.
Yeah?
I enjoy that.
You training for a while?
Yeah, I've been on and off since, oh my God. I did judo when I was 6.
Okay.
So I've done bits. People don't realise I've done bits. I've never done striking properly. So everyone's judging me on my striking. I'm like, that's all right, you carry on. Can't do that anyway. That's the joy of MMA. There's so many different aspects to it. Like, I'm not going to put out my wrestling and my groundwork. That's what I enjoy doing. You know what I mean? I'll put out stuff I'm bad at. You keep telling me I'm shit. I like that.
You like that, right?
I love that.
And that's an organization that they started with Marius, the strongman, right?
Yeah.
He created it in Poland.
Yes.
He had a few fights, right?
Still with them.
Still with him.
Yeah,
Oh,
that has been spoke about, that fight.
Okay, really, with him.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
He's a decent fighter now.
Yeah, there's a real demand for these quote-unquote freak fights, you know?
100%,
I mean, look at
especially
Bellator.
there.
I mean,
Yeah.
Bellator brings back the old school. We just saw Tito and Chuck fight again.
Yep.
And I mean, the UFC doesn't want to go that way. It's not their model. I get it.
Yeah.
But there's a demand for it.
The demand's crazy as well. Like when it was suggested that I'd fight this Iranian Hulk, he was everywhere. It just went boom. Overnight, my manager was like, I'm not used to this. You're not even a real fighter. I was like, I know. That's what I enjoy about it, is the fact that you can step into a sport and really taste it and feel that energy, and the opportunity to do it was too great. I've got a lot of people putting me down for doing it. Just tell you he's an idiot, this is that, he's just a prat. I'm like, that's all right, but I've got the opportunity to do it. Well, wouldn't you do it? If you got offered a crazy amount of money to step into a cage, you're telling me you'd say no? Of course you wouldn't. That's. I don't think I'm going to be the next UFC champion. I've never said I was. I never said that's what I set out to be. But at the same time, I'm not someone that will back down from a challenge, and I still believe that the opportunity to do that and to experience it is awesome. You know, it's just a challenge. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There's no ego involved in that. I'm not a trained fighter. You know, I'm not to that level. I don't think I want to go out and really be the next Conor McGregor. And I think that's the problem with people. There's sort of, everyone wants to judge and put you down. No one wants to actually go, do you know what, fair play. That's great. That is, you know, you've done that, you've done this, you've done that. I just bought another house for my family. No, they'd rather criticise. You know what I mean? It's just sad, really, that society would rather put down than appreciate. All I'm doing is doing my best for my kids. That's it. Simple as that. Stepping into a cage allows me to earn as much money as the average bloke would in 4 years for 10 minutes working. Who wouldn't do that?
Well, a lot of people wouldn't, but, you know, I can see why you would, and I want to do it too.
This could be the next fight.
Right? Come on. I'm seriously going to have one, you know, in the next couple of years. I want to get in
It's
there.
awesome.
I mean, it's the ultimate test, is it not?
100%.
They lock the cage door.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
you don't know what's going to happen in there.
Exactly. We might have to go back to the same dentist. I think that's what it is, you know. I think you need that grasp. You know what I mean? You need to have something where you're obviously a very successful individual and you're trying to find that new output. So, right, what I've done this, I've done that, but what scares you? What's the one thing that you haven't done yet that's going to be putting yourself on the line? And stepping into that cage is the one thing that 99% of people wouldn't want to do. And to do it, regardless of win or loss, to do it and to experience it and to come out the other side, I think can only make you a better person.
Yeah.
If you live. You die.
Not so much.
That's a bad way out.
Yeah. You mentioned Conor McGregor.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on him?
I loved him at first. I don't know. I think he seems to have calmed down again now. It's very hard to. I've Peter. I'm very close with Peter, he's one of Conor's main training partners and a very respected fighter in his own right. He loves Conor to bits. And I did a film with a guy called Michael. Michael and Peter are cousins. They grew up with Conor from small. So I've always had that sort of mutual friends where I always want my friends and mutual friends to do well. Conor smashed it. Then it's hard to know whether it's the influence of other people. So, right, I want you to do this, to create this sort of storm, or whether he just lost the plot. But for me, I don't like the arrogance of, especially when it comes to money and stuff. And it was more the Nate fight and then the Floyd fight, I was like, oh, I get it, you've made a lot of money, but you've also, in my eyes, you've not sold out, but you've lost that respect that I had for you as a fighter. You're a fantastic business person, you've made a shitload of money, but I'm very old-fashioned. There's sort of lines that I'd go down, and I'm not into bitchiness. I'm not into, I've got more money than you, you've got more money.
The flaunting.
I don't like that.
Is that a poor man's reaction, though, to getting rich sometimes?
I don't know, because there's rich people that do that as well. I've been around it and I hate it. And that's the one thing I try and do my best. I try not to be an idiot with what I've got. And I think it's a horrible trait. I think you can tell if someone's doing well. You can tell. I can tell you've done well. You don't need to pull out your bank balance and show me. You can tell.
An old friend said, a rich man doesn't have to tell you he's rich.
It doesn't, and that's more appealing to me. It's like, you just feel that you're successful. Why show people paper? And I just don't like that. And that's the one thing that, the first thing that jumps out for me when you said Conor's name would be money and arrogance, when it should be fighter and success. Now, I'm not judging him, he's done fucking amazing. Do you know what I mean? He's created MMA, he really has. And I think it's hard for any individual to be that successful from being nowhere to keep the head. So I get it 100%. And I think he's getting it himself now. He seems a lot more relaxed with where he's at. And it's hard. It's like I said, it's hard. I know a lot of fighters, and Baby Boy Miller, I'm very good friends with him. He's just landed the AJ fight. He comes across on social as a complete plonker. In my opinion, he's the most loveliest, honest, sweetest guy you'll ever meet. Every time I see him on social, he's gobbing off and pushing. I'm like, that's not you. But it's his fight ego just to create that noise.
Right.
So I don't know with Conor, because I don't know him like that, whether that's all an act or it has just influenced him.
But when he's throwing trash cans through bus windows and getting heated.
Again, I think that was set up.
Yeah.
Probably not all of it, but I think it went over the top. For me, UFC's turned very WWE, and I get it. It's an entertainment business, but it's hard to create entertainment when there's natural hate in it. Do you know what I mean? There's entertainment, then there's the fight game. You can't play the fight game. You generally want to kill each other. So it's one of them dangerous sort of fine lines. When do you stop being a fighter? When Conor had his last fight and your man jumped over the cage and started fighting, should have been arrested. In my opinion, he should have been arrested. Jump over the cage, you hit someone, that's assault.
Yeah. He
wasn't. What sort of influence is that on kids watching it? Oh, it's cool. My role model does it, it's absolutely fine. I'm just gonna go and smack someone. That, for me, is not a role model.
Was that Khabib's fault or Conor's fault or both?
I think both.
Right.
They're both idiots.
Yeah, that was a mess. It's not what we want MMA to be.
No way, because the whole point of martial arts is supposed to be respect. And there's nothing better than seeing two guys beat the shit out of each other and then stand there after, shake hands and give each other a hug and have that respect for each other. No one wants to see that. It's just stupid. Unfortunately, it sells tickets. But for me, as a dad and someone that wants to be a positive role model to my kids, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's right. It's just my opinion.
Let me switch to social media. How do you get 1 million Instagram followers? And once you get them, what do you do with them?
These success secrets are only available on the London Real Academy. Become a member and get access to live shows, exclusive courses, my webinars, bonus content, meetups, live events, an amazing community, and much, much more. Now back to the rest of the show.
It's become a business for me now. And we were talking about this earlier. Like, I learned so much from Rich about business, which is ironic because to look at him, you wouldn't think he understood business at all. And he was actually so forward thinking. He was unbelievable. And I took a lot from Rich, and I've took a lot from other influencers. And I now use my social media page as a marketing tool, 100% marketing tool. Try and give back, try and advise, try and help, try and motivate. And then on the side of that, I grow businesses through it. So when you become an influencer, people like what you do, like what you wear, like where you go, like what your lifestyle is. So if you can have the ability to outsource that to them and they can purchase, all of a sudden you've got a business tool. And I learned that very early on. And I now really try and help other people who I see have got that potential. So look, Instagram's no longer a friend's tool. It's a business, and it's only going to get bigger. You become an influencer, you're basically a marketer. Find out who follows you, why they follow you, how you influence them, and by influencing them, how can you grow yourself as a business person? Because everyone needs to pay bills. Everyone needs an income. If you can get an income from having an Instagram account, and I'm talking a good income, like I know a good fitness influencer, an individual can make anywhere between $250,000 and $500,000 a year off Instagram.
Dollars. Pounds. That's
no
joke. Need 1 million followers? Not even.
Depends.
Okay.
It depends how in touch you are with your followers. Mm. You could have 5 million followers, but you have zero connection.
Right.
I was speaking to a female about this, and she wanted to grow her Instagram, and I said, look, there's 2 types of accounts you can have. You could go and put half-naked shots up, underwear shots. You'd get 2 million followers like that. There'd be 95% men. Now, the reality is men aren't going to buy from you. Right? They're not going to purchase makeup. They're not going to purchase hair products. They're not going to purchase fitness. Or you could really understand the audience that you can sell to and create an account that influences them and build a business around it. So you need to make sure that your following is relevant. If you're doing it for business, if you're doing it for ego and you just want a big number, well, crack on, as many as you want. But if you're doing it for business, create a page, create an account that sells to your demographic and builds your demographic. And I don't see it as a bad thing. It's just business. You're helping them as much as they're helping you. You're giving them good advice. You're advising them how to eat, how to supplement, when to train, how to train. Because you're educating that individual, you're building a trust between the two. If I take you to the gym with me and I explain to you all week, this is how you train, this is how you do time and attention, this is how you do negatives, this is how much rest you should have, and you experience a week of training with me and you enjoy it and you feel the difference. At the end of the week, all right, I'm going to go now. I need you to buy them supplements and that food. Carry on training like that and you can get the results. You're going to buy into me because you've already got results. Exactly the same as Instagram. If you can give people good advice and you can help them progress, they're going to purchase a product regardless. They want to spend. Individuals want to spend money, but they don't know what they want to spend the money on. So you basically allow them to spend the money with you. not in a rip-off way. You're educating them properly, you're giving them guidance, and you're building trust. And once you've built that trust, you can sell. Once you start selling, they get more results, they'll buy more. Same with the photos I was talking about earlier. The car park on the way here, kid walked straight into me, oh my God, it's Martyn Ford. It's like, you're right, buddy, I was late. I was late for you. I still had a picture of him because that, for me, he's really, really important because he could be a customer for 10, 15 years. And having that one picture, saying hello to him, giving him that smile, made his day. Sounds crazy, but it's true.
Yeah. And you also take ownership of businesses that you help on social media. And that's what makes you a little different. You're not looking for the pay per post. You're looking for long term. And you now have your fingers in lots of pies.
Lots of pies. Lots of pies. I think I learned very early on that if you're going to be successful in this industry, you need to own the brand rather than be a face of a brand, because that face will change every 12 months. I now own Ignite, which is a supplement company, which is the sister company to 5%, which Rich had. Right?
Okay, yeah, I remember that. 5%.
Now, the reason we created a new company was because 5% was Rich's with a partner. Right? When Rich passed, I moved into 5%. It was never mine. It was always Rich. It would always be Rich behind 5%. So we invested the money into a new company. Same team, same structure, but a new company. I now own 50% of that company. And to go from 3 years ago, being nobody, to all of a sudden owning a company in the fitness industry and that company growing, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. And it costs nothing because I'm using my social media influence as my investment financially. Yeah. And I've done that with 4 or 5 different companies. And it's worked and it keeps working. And you just keep growing and growing and growing.
Tell me a bit more about you. What's a daily practice that's non-negotiable? Something you have to do every day. Could be physical or mental or nutrition, but what's something that keeps you you?
Gym. Every single day. I think the only time I have more than one day off a week is when I'm ill. I can, since I was 21, I've probably had 4 weeks off from illness or operation. And then I have Sunday off normally. Sometimes I even train on Sunday. That's my addiction. It's probably my weakness as well, to be honest, because I do need to rest more. But that's my escape time. And my life is always based around gym, which sounds so weird when you look at it as an adult. You're like, why is it that important? But it tunes me, it allows me to relax and get on with my day. I think I'd be on medication if I wasn't in the gym. I genuinely believe that. I think I'd have ADHD. I think I got that. And I controlled it with fitness.
Do you think all men need to embrace steel?
Yeah. Or fitness of some sort. I think you just need that. We've lost what being a man really is with modern world, and guys need that release, that energy, the testosterone, and women. I think everyone sort of, we're so lazy as people now because we don't have to do stuff. We don't have to walk to the shops. We can get it dropped off at the door. We don't have to clean. We can get it cleaner. There's just so much stuff now that we don't have to do. I think we need to do. I genuinely do. I think the need for competition and the need for physically pushing yourself, it allows you to take that into other aspects of your life. I'm not saying you need to do it 6 times a week, but I do think that fitness is a fantastic starting point for individuals that want to be successful, because it builds up self-belief. It builds repetition, dedication, and the ability to see progression. And I think if you look at fitness and you look at any whether it's studying, whether it's business or home life. You can take out learning curves from the fitness world and implement that into, I have massively. You know, I will, if I start a new training program, I will plan, I'll implement, and I'll be persistent with that. And that really taught me how to do business. I was like, if I want to open up another gym, I need to research, I need to plan, I need to implement, then I need to keep implementing. And guess what? It works. I learned that through fitness. Yeah. It's really, I think, you know, it's just a natural thing for me. I love it, I absolutely love it. I always have. I've always been very good at that. I've not been very good at other things, so you sway to what you're good at, but that's allowed me to become good at other stuff.
Yeah. If I was to ask 5 of your best friends, what is Martyn's superpower? How are you able to do all the things you do, which is a lot of stuff? What would they say it is?
Stubbornness, focus, dedication, never giving up, and the fear of losing. Yeah, that'll be it.
What scares you?
Nothing really scared me until I had kids and everything. I think just what scares me is not being able to provide for them and not being able to be there 24/7 as they grow up. That's the only thing really. Nothing scares me for me. Nothing really scares me in that sense. I think because I've been through so much. Like I nearly died last year, and then I was so ill when I was 20s, and I've had so many highs and so many lows. Nothing really scares you when you've experienced it, because you think, well, I've been there, I've got through it. It's just a process. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. If I lost all my money tomorrow, it wouldn't scare me. I know what I've got to do. I've got to fucking work hard again. I just probably enjoy it because I like working hard. I enjoy that. It feels like I'm being productive. So nothing scares me in that sense, whether it's death or spiders or losing what I had or so on. But just kids. And I think you've got kids as well. I think you understand that. That's the only thing that really does put a fear in me.
Because it makes you so vulnerable, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can't control everything.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing, really.
What would we be surprised to learn about you and something that you do? Maybe some guilty pleasure or something that we not expect from you.
Oh, probably some of the shit I watch on TV. I like romantic comedies. They're quite good.
Like what? What's your favorite?
Oh, what was the one with the Irish guy? I can't remember what his bloody... P.S. I Love You. Great film.
Okay. Why do you like that stuff?
Why?
Yeah.
I just find them quite funny.
Are you a romantic guy?
Nah.
Okay.
No, I'm terrible. I'm terrible for that. But I find the romantic comedies quite funny.
And what keeps you awake at night?
Food. I'm starving. I don't settle well. I definitely don't settle. I always want the day. I don't like sleep. I don't like the night. I don't like ending, which I think is great. I think if you want to go to bed and you want to sleep, I don't think you're enjoying your life. I definitely don't. I've never slept well. 5 hours, 6 hours at the most. I'm up, boom, ready to go. It's got a little bit more as I've got older, I admit that. I definitely need my sleep more now, but what keeps me, I think I always want more. I always want more, and that's when I'll think what I can do or what I should be doing. I always feel like I'm not doing enough, which is weird because I've done so much. I always feel like I could do more. Then I do more and burn myself out, and I realise I should do less.
When you do too much.
Yeah. It's a catch-22. I'm terrible for that. I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do more. And I burn myself out, and then I'm like, I need to do less. And I do less, and then I feel like I'm being lazy. So it's trying to find that happy medium, which is always hard.
Do you think that can be an addiction, trying to do more or trying to do too much stuff to come?
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone that's successful in the field that they're in has that addiction. Always. And trying to do 3 or 4 things at once is a bloody nightmare. I'm trying to run 5 businesses now with no education. It's hard work.
But you love it.
Yeah. I employ good people, put it that way, who always tell me that my ideas are stupid. They're always right. But I think because I've been very lucky with making money very easily, I've invested clever. And one big thing I did realise is that you pay good people good money to make good decisions for you, and that's the best way to go forward. So just don't listen to a word I say. But it works.
It's good business advice.
Yeah, it is. Pay people who are better at doing the job than you are to do that work.
Yeah. Martyn, I always ask people a few questions at the end. I'm going to ask you, if you could pick up a magic phone and ring up the 20-year-old Martyn and give that young man a bit of advice, I guess you're probably maybe at that time where struggling with your grandfather being gone and just at this time. But if you could tell him what you know now, what would you say?
Probably to relax and not stress so much, because it all works out.
Was he stressed out, that kid?
Yeah, really, really stressed because he hadn't achieved. And that was the biggest thing. I know exactly what my issue was looking back. I even knew what my issue was at the time. I just couldn't do anything about it. My biggest issue was that I was successful and I lost it. And I couldn't fill that void. I had a void for 10 years that I couldn't fill, and it was horrible. And it was only 5 years ago that void started to become full. And that was my biggest problem, to be honest, was that I always felt like I was lesser than I was. And that was a horrible feeling.
You knew you were destined for something great, or you thought you could do that.
Yeah, I knew I could do something better than what I was doing. And I'd already tasted success as a 15, 16-year-old. And I was worse at 20 than I was at 15. And then that I couldn't accept. And I went through all of my 20s feeling that I was worse than I was when I was 15. And that isn't good. And that's what kept me going back every day to become bigger, better, stronger, faster. But I didn't know what I was doing it for. But I knew there was a reason. And then that reason just clicked. So I think the older, wiser Martyn would say, keep going, just relax and trust the process, which is very easy to say when you've achieved. Yeah. It's like a religious person saying that they believe in God and all this, and it's like, well, you don't know, you just feel or you hope. And I think that's the same as me. I didn't know, I just hoped.
I think Steve Jobs once said at a graduation speech that when you look in reverse, you can connect the dots. You know, it all makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
But, the other way, it's very hard. It looks like a random walk sometimes.
Yeah.
But all of that stuff built you, made you who you are today.
I wouldn't change anything at all. I genuinely wouldn't change anything that I did or have done. Why would I? You know what I mean? I've come from where I did to where I am. I don't think I could have done any better. I genuinely don't think I could have done anything any different to have got me into a better place now. So it's now just trying to kick on, and hopefully in 5 years' time look back and say, well, I've done that, and I own this, and now I'm going to do this. Rather than just go, 5 years ago I was really successful and now I've just lived off that for 5 years. That's what I don't want to do. I don't want to be in that position, and I won't be in that position. because I won't allow myself to do that.
Yeah. Second part of that question, best advice you ever received. Could have been from a trainer, from your grandfather, from anybody along the way. Maybe a movie advice, but something that stuck with you. You have a tattoo on your chest that has some pretty good advice. Success is not final.
Yeah.
Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts.
Yeah.
Why'd you have that on your chest?
I think I was going through a bad time at that time. And I just needed something to constantly remind me that it's good to fail. And it doesn't mean it's going to make you who you are. I like being reminded by certain quotes, and I do think back to things sometimes like that, and experiences. I don't think there's been one person who said anything that's really stuck with me. I think it's a combination of different people and just learning from them and the way they live their life that's really influenced me. And I've had some great people influence me from a young age. I don't know if you followed cricket, but I had Brian Lara, Alan Donald, like some of the best cricket players in the world around me when I was 14, 15. So to be around individuals like that and have the opportunity to learn from, world beaters at that age, it stuck with me through my life. And I think just the energy from individuals like that was my best learning curve, 100%.
Last part of that question, to that 20-year-old that's watching us right now or listening to us somewhere in the world. Maybe they're here because they want to get big. Maybe they're here because they just want to learn about life from you. Advice to give to them because they're living in a different age.
Yeah. Commitment, dedication, and having some balls and going through with decisions. And that's the hardest. I said earlier on, people get trapped. Having the ability not to be trapped and to step out of that comfort zone. And even if you fail, stepping back into that fire until you're successful. Then I think you'll find satisfaction. I think a lot of people are unsatisfied. I think a lot of people live safe. And I think a lot of people are happier like that, but will never really experience true happiness because they play safe. And I think that's true of a lot of individuals who play safe. For me, my advice to me as a 20-year-old was never play safe. Or take a risk. You're better off failing and coming back than just being normal. And that would be it.
Powerful. Martyn, when I first heard about you, I was like, who the hell is this guy? But I watched some of your interviews and I knew we had to have you on because you got a lot going on in that brain of yours.
It's burnt out now.
Yeah, probably. But there's a lot of wisdom, and I think a lot of people first see you maybe because of your accomplishments in your movies, your exterior. But, there's a lot of wisdom inside of you and a lot of honesty. And I really appreciate you coming out and talking about
it's been an absolute pleasure. I think I just put that down to the amazing people that I know and been fortunate enough to work with. And I think it's true in life. You mold yourself on people that you meet and you take their energy on. And I've just been super fortunate. That's all it is. No different from anyone else, just very lucky.
Well, I look forward to the rest of your movie career. I look forward to seeing you fight in Poland or whatever.
You fight.
Yeah, exactly. Get me that deal. Hook me up. We can do that. I'll do the card together. Co-main event. But I love how you keep pushing yourself. Again, that's something I'm always telling my students and everyone, and I try to tell myself now. Engineer risks into my life.
Yep.
Because we so naturally play it safe. Even people at top levels, they get into this comfort zone.
100%.
So we got to get out there, take those risks, and I love what you're saying. So appreciate that. Even dropping knowledge on Instagram game was some great stuff as well. So
there we go.
You got some of those guys running and wondering what's happening. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Wishing you all the best. I really enjoyed this.
Appreciate it.
All right,
thank you, buddy.
Appreciate it.
The critics who always speak behind my back, maybe I want to hear them remind me, he's back, the great pretender. I hope this time he gets hurt. I love these guys. They give me fuel. If you want to reach your objective, you want to achieve it, you're going to have to be obsessive. You're going to have to be obsessed. Feel what you do. Feel it. If you're not feeling it, it doesn't matter.
Chris Eubank Jr. How do you explain his prowess in the ring?
Junior has that obsession, that genius, that magic. Genius is obsession, but it's in one area.
You studied the sweet science for so much of your life. How do you walk away from it? Do you miss it?
You can't walk away from it. I am it. And even when I dance, really I'm boxing. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, the one who strives valiantly.
What was the worst day of your life, and how has it shaped you as a human being?
When I fought Nigel Benn, I stood like this. It was to mask this. The risk must be taken. That's why you are London Reelers. That's why we're here. We're tired of sitting still, watching it happening for others. Let's do it.